at that point in my life, I had done more research into Alpha than I did any college course. I had taken at the time. You said same, right?
Same.
Yeah,
same.
see, so it's funny now that I think about it. But that's what sparked it all.
Yeah. All right, brother Ngwenya, tell me your give us your story.
So my story has some of the same issues or points that Brother Hawkins said. So I came from Zambia, Lusaka, Zambia in the 80s. And my father was involved in a lot of societies with secrets, right? And, he was a mover and shaker in Lusaka. Ended up at DeMatha Catholic High School, Hyattsville, Maryland. I was playing soccer. I was just excited about life. And I realized very early that, so when I graduated from high school, I was about 5'7" and some change, maybe 5'8".
Raymond, what are you now?
Yeah. Now I'm 5'10".
Oh,
strong. But I realized,
he's proud of those 3 inches.
Yeah. Hey, give it a 3, dog. Give it a 3. But I realized very early that academics is what was going to have to push me forward. And I am not I always tell folks, like, being smart is one thing, but I'm an experiential learner. So I figured out how to absorb as much information as possible without spending a whole lot of time in it. Graduated from high school, and University of Maryland wasn't my first choice. I didn't get accepted as soon as I applied. But then, when I applied, similar to Brother Hawkins, I got a scholarship in my first year at University of Maryland. I paid $27 for my education. Like, I remember pulling out my debit card, like, here you go.
I got that.
I got that. So, so I started college fall 2000, and one of my homegirls, she was interested in being a Delta, and she was like, "Yo, come to this probate for Alpha Phi Alpha," and I'm like, "What is a probate? Yeah. And what is an Alpha Phi Alpha?" So, she takes me, she's like, "I just need somebody to go with me," similar to what Brother Hawkins said. She's from the Midwest, and she's like, she didn't want to go by herself. So at that time, these 2 dudes come out, same concept. They're marching. All these dudes are like yelling and saying these numbers and, all these 1s and all these 6s. Mm-hmm. I don't know what these dudes are talking about. And I'm nudging Shorty. I'm like, "Yo, it's raining. I'm not about to be standing out here just looking at these two men march and do all this stuff." But the intensity that they brought at that probate, right, or the coming out show, that sparked my interest. I was just like, what is that? And why are all these people here to look at them
do that?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was like, that's weird. But I was like, that's also tough. And I started doing my research, and that young lady ended up becoming a Delta, and she was like, "Oh, you should look at this organization." And I started just doing my own research, and I was like, nah, I don't really stand for what they stand for. So I'm African. My name is African. I believe in Africa, and I wanted something that was going to be tied to Africa.
Yeah.
So I went through the litany, right? I was like, nah, they not this, they not that. And then I found something that had a tied to Egyptology and mysticism. And some of the stuff that I was reading, the books that I was reading, the pictures that I was seeing were so reminiscent of the same imagery that my father would have in the home, that you don't really realize that things that you absorb as a child come out as an adult.
Yes.
Right. He had never told me, like, this is what you need to be doing, or this is what mysticism is. But as a man, Brother Hawkins' grandfather is amazing. It's the same thing. Mm-hmm. So I got a little letter. I got a little letter saying, "Hey, you should apply for this organization. They have a scholarship." I applied for that scholarship. I didn't join that organization, but I did take their scholarship money. And they were tight. They were tight with.
They didn't try to buy you off, did they?
You know, they were trying to come back onto the campus, and I think they needed numbers.
Oh.
And I tell, and this is no disrespect to anybody, but this fraternity at that time, our fraternity at that time was the blackest thing I had ever done, right? I wasn't a part of the Black Student Union because African Americans, when I was in college, didn't consider me part of the Black Student Union because I had an African name, right? The African Student Union didn't accept me because my mother is from Guyana, which is, you know, has the West Indian culture.
West Indies, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So they were like, "Oh, you ain't really African." And I'm like, "Dog, I was born in Lusaka. You were born in Talladega, Hyattsville, wherever."
Yeah.
Like, come on, man. And, you know, so it was this. So I just pushed all cultural organizations away, and I wasn't going to join like the multicultural organization because it was just too much. But you know, I pushed and I tried, and that was and actually similar to Brother Hawkins, one of the brothers that was probating that night ended up being my dean.
Oh,
wow.
Nice.
Wow.
I just started watching him. He was also an athlete. You know, he was also an athlete, and I started watching him on his sports, in the sports teams. I started watching him on campus, and he was a leader. And I was like, all right. And Iota Zeta chapter had that respect. I realized that brothers were on point, and that's what drew it. That's what fed my appetite.
Yeah, I think
fed my appetite.
If I'm hearing you correctly, man, I think what you're saying is like the level of elitism,
absolutely,
of the organization at the time on your campus kind of drew you to it. I think it was the same for me.
There are a few things that stand out to me from both of your stories. You know, there are a lot of similarities in upbringing, background, but there's also some things that are external to your personal experience, some things that you had no control over. And those things are the particular alphas in that particular chapter on your campus, their presence and influence and the ability to be mentors. And, you know, with the changing climate out there, I think it gets lost the importance of being a mentor, regardless of organization, because the two individuals that had the most effect on your decision were two people who were kind of mentors. They were older. They existed in the same space, you know, sports. They were your teammates. They were members in other organizations with you, whatever, social or otherwise. So that, you know, that's an important thing that I think as we move and talk about leadership, that's an important aspect of leadership, because if not for their leadership affecting you the way it did, you would have never taken that leap and then ended up in the same leadership position, if that makes sense.
No, yeah, I think it definitely makes sense. And I think even further to that point, I saw something in that brother that I saw in myself.
Yes.
Right. It was like, oh, okay, I'm the exact same way. I can be in the exact same position that he's in.
And, you know, there's that old saying, you know, there goes an alpha man, right? And that speaks directly to pedigree. That speaks to pedigree. Tell me a bit about what was the turning point as far as your pursuit of leadership and wanting to actually, all right, I've committed to this organization. You know, I've done everything I needed to do at this level. I want to take it a step further. What was it?
Oh, man.